What up, perps? Kid Copious, back in effect. Purple State Party. You know what we're doing here. We're repping the America, the center, common sense, and keeping love in your heart. That is first and foremost what we try to do. We are not trying to push policies that hurt people. And if you can get behind it, then this Fetty cannon, it's all for you, baby. All right, well, I'm considering this now my kind of soft opening for a podcast, so I thought, maybe, people maybe be listening or seeing this for the first time, and I just want to explain, it's a really simple concept what goes on here at Purple State. You have the Reds, the Republicans, you have the Blues, the Democrats. Both of them have some really good ideas. Both of them have good ways of thinking about things, but the big butt comes in here. I like big butts and I cannot. Going off on a tangent there. The problem is that they have some really awful ideas. And they have some awful ways of going about things. Well, here at Purple State, we're trying to promote either Purple State becoming a party. I don't know. I mean, really, you think I'm going to run a political party? I don't know about that. I know some people who could do it. But maybe a third party does come out. And I know we have a lot of third parties right now. But part of the problem that I see with a lot of these third parties, I looked around, I'm an independent. A lot of them are just sort of offshoots. They're sort of like they took the worst qualities of a political party and made that their focus. The Green Party tends to focus way too much on the environment. The Tea Party, if that's still a thing, they're out there, they're appealing to the extreme right. Nobody's really appealing to the middle. And that's where I think a lot of us sit. I understand, I get it, that, it's hard for especially young women to vote for the Republicans who might outlaw abortion. And I also understand that there are a lot of people out there who can't vote for the Democrats because of some of the policies they support. Well, here at Purple State, we try to look at things from both sides and try to figure out what that middle answer is, And one of the best examples that I can give comes from what has been going on in the last 4 years with the trans community, trans rights, and all of that. It really bothers me that men who become women then start competing on the women's team where they have, for the most part, they have an advantage, and they take advantage of that advantage to excel. You have swimmers who were average male swimmers. They become champion female swimmers. Meanwhile, the locker rooms and all of that stuff have to be integrated so that now you have a biological male in the locker room, and the women have to put up with it. Meanwhile, the men just get to carry on as normal, just dump it all on the women. I don't see that as logical, but I also do not have anything but love for the trans community. If that's who you are, that's who you are, and that's who I'm going to accept. I really listen to Martin Luther King when he says, judge not by the color of the skin, but by the content of the character. If you're a hard worker, I don't give a shit. I don't care what you are. I don't care if you used to be a man. I don't care. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're brown. I don't care. How do you produce? And that's what Purple State's about. I support trans rights. I do not think trans people should be unfairly singled out. I don't think they should be terrorized on the streets. I don't think they should be denied opportunities. But I also don't want them being lied to by the medical community who sees them as a cash cow. I don't like that. I know people who are trans. I know that they have issues beyond just their gender identity. But if we're not going to approach it as adults, if we're just going to approach it as this free-fall anarchy, I think it's kind of stupid. I don't see the logic in allowing a 13-year-old to make life-altering decisions. Much like they're not allowed to get tattoos. I mean, I got tattoos. That doesn't mean I should, I'm going to let a 12-year-old go out there. Am I even showing one right now? Yeah, I got them, but whatever. I digress and transgress and all of that kind of crap. But that's what Purple State stands for. We have to be able to understand that sometimes in life We have to make what's known as compromises. I'm all for immigration. I'm all for excusing some illegal immigration. But over the last 4 years, the free-for-all we had was in no way based in common sense. We let so many known criminals in. They were already criminals. They were on the run. They were wanted by the countries they were fleeing. They are people who have sworn their allegiance to places like Al-Qaeda. They're operatives for cartels, for foreign nationals who just came across the border. That doesn't make sense. That's what Purple State's about. You know, when I say keep love in your heart, I mean that. We're going to get into more of that. But first, I wanted to start off with something that I really found really purple. You know, the cornerstone of Purple State is those last two words, common sense. And here's one that just really typifies how we could live in a more purple world. A purple world is so much better than a red or blue world. No matter what side you vote on, okay, red or blue, I think if you look into your heart, you'll see our world would be better purple. And here is a great example of that. Sheep in Texas are helping the solar industry. It's mutually beneficial. That's pretty cool, man. In Texas, not California, Texas. On rural Texas farmland beneath hundreds of rows of solar panels, a group of stocky sheep rummage through the pasture, casually bumping into each other as they remain committed to a single task, chewing grass. The booming solar industry has found an unlikely mascot in sheep, as large-scale solar farms crop up across the United States. In the plain fields of Texas, in Milam County, outside of Austin, SB Energy operates the fifth largest solar project in the country. And it's capable of generating 900 megawatts of power. That's pretty good, man. It takes up 4,000 acres of what used to be farmland, pasture land. And how do they manage all that grass? With 3,000 sheep, which are better suited than lawnmowers to fit between small crevices and chew away, rain or shine. And it's an exploding industry called, I only put this in because you know how I am with pronunciations. If you've seen me before, you know this one's going to suck. Agrovoltaics. We'll go with that. A method using land for both solar energy production and agriculture is on the rise with more than 60 solar grazing projects in the U.S. 27 states engage in the practice. Isn't that wonderful? Okay, we're gonna dedicate all this land to solar, thus displacing our agricultural production. Here's a way to bring it back. Here's a way to meld the two things. Like the SB Energy asset manager, James Hawkins, said, and I love this quote, the industry tends to rely on gas-powered mowers, which kind of contradicts the purpose of renewables. Boom. None of this doesn't make sense. You have a giant solar plant that's covering 4,000 acres. You let the sheep rancher put his sheep there. His sheep eat for free. Your land gets cleared for free, so you don't have all this growth coming over your solar panels. You're not using gas-powered lawnmowers. And boom, an industry is born. Last year, the inventory of sheep and lamb in Texas fell to a little more than 600,000, a 4% drop. But that's on the way up. Imagine what we can do producing, whether you like it or not, lamb meat. That's what's in a good gyro, good kebab. And the wool market. Again, something that can create jobs from all of this. And that's what Purple is striving for. This balance between what's new and good and what is old and good. We tend to, in this country, and for most parts as humans, tend to throw out the old to bring in the new. And it doesn't need to be that way. And this is a great example of where we can start, our reascent or whatever into an agricultural powerhouse. I mean, I know we still are, but we outsource a lot of stuff. Now, I don't know if you could put cows. I don't know what, we haven't fully fleshed this thing out. But as time goes by, we're going to see this. And the reason I like this so much is I am really, really, really against windmills. I find windmills to be very ugly. And the idea of putting them in the ocean where it affects the harmonics of the whales and other sea life, I think it's just crap. I don't think, I've covered this before, but I mean, the long and short of it is that windmills take a lot of pollution to build and to maintain. They need to be de-iced, they need to be lubricated with motor oil, all this kind of crap, right? But they're ugly. They're ugly. Solar panels are not great, but they're a lot less. You can look over the top of solar panels and see the mountains. I drove by solar panels yesterday that were surrounded by Joshua trees. And I could still see the mountains, and I could still see everything. And if I took a picture, the solar panels would not be in it. So this one comes from Larry Elder. I forgot to leave his thing in there. I think it was made by somebody else and reposted by Larry Elder. The great Thomas Sowell is 94. There is still time for President Trump to award Professor Sowell the Presidential Medal of Freedom. This is a man who, he's an elder black man who has so much wisdom. I've featured him on this show plenty of time. I didn't have time, I'm sorry, to collect some quotes by him because I just found this morning. I'm running late today. I'm headed out to an air show. My son-in-law loves planes, and he really wants to go see a mosquito. So that's what we're going to do. But Thomas Sowell is one of the best minds that we have in the United States, and maybe even in the world. And more people should read his works, and they should also read the works of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. These people were promoting unity. And what we see in this country right now is a lack of that. We see the political parties dividing us up, conquering us one by one, and locking us into either red or blue. That's why I hate red or blue. Look, I'm not trying to lock people into a purple way of thinking. I'm inviting people to realize that, look, with compromise, we can find actual solutions. I'm looking for solutions, not votes. And talking about that division, here's CNN. This is from the political cartoonist Bronco. Here's the CNN building, and Acosta's leaving. And he's saying Trump's fault. And then you have all of these things around him. You have the communist flag there from the USSR, lies, TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, if you don't know, and poor ratings. And one of the reasons why CNN has such poor ratings is because they clearly picked one dog in the fight, and they lied to prop this person up. And at the end of the day, because, they had to drive Biden out and Kamala Harris in, CNN exposed some of their own lies and some of their own manipulations of facts and stuff. And we're going to see that in the coming months and years. Some of these manipulated facts on crime and on jobs. I mean, crime and jobs are two of the most important issues we have in this country. Crime and jobs affects everybody. And the Biden administration often lied about it. I mean, I remember one year with one report where there was something nearly like 15,000 jobs lost, but because the government added 44,000 jobs, they had a net growth. And that was just manipulation. It was more taxpayer money going down the toilet. That's one thing we need to do in this country is we need to rein in this crazy government spending. And one of the places where we see the most wasteful spending is on freaking agendas. We saw it for 4 years with Biden. His agenda wreaked havoc on this economy. And it wreaked havoc on the morale of Americans. That's who I care about. I care about Americans first. I'm going to just tell you that right now. I have no problem making America great again. All right? I don't subscribe to the extremes. Obviously, how in the fuck could you be purple and have extreme beliefs? You can't. It's impossible. That's why I hope more and more people join me here and start rejecting some of this stuff, man. Because, fuck, if we don't, America ceases to exist. So, talking about CNN and its failures, this is talking about the pardons here. According to a news analyst from the conservative media watchdog Media Research Center, the flagship morning and evening newscasts from ABC, CBS, and NBC spent 3 minutes and 32 seconds on Biden's preemptive pardons. For Trump, 46 minutes and 32 seconds. That's a problem, folks. Here's some of the thing, the breakdowns of the numbers. which news agencies did what. ABC Good Morning and World News Tonight covered Trump pardons for 15 minutes, Biden's for a mere 34 seconds. Even Chuck Schumer, he's a Democrat, lambasted the notion of preemptive pardons back in 2020, saying it would be a gross abuse of presidential pardon authority. And as the author here says, I have my reservations, but I would hope legacy media, in the 3 minutes it devoted to Biden, touched on the fact that the former president promised to never issue such nakedly corrupt pardons. It's doubtful, however. Right here, December 2020, Jake Tapper asked President Biden about the rumor that Trump may issue some preemptive pardons before leaving office. Biden says, you're not going to see me do that. And then he did it. Now, I'm not going to debate these pardons. All right, whatever. All right, I'm not a big fan of pardons, unless there's some really good criteria met. Of course, Biden's going to pardon his own son. No matter how many times he said he wasn't going to do it, you knew he was going to do it. Come on. The problem is that when you devote all of your time to one president's pardons and barely glance on the other ones, you're not doing a service. Everybody excuses cable news, mainstream media, legacy media of just trying to make a dollar. Like that makes it all right. They are supposed to be the watchdogs of our society. Some of Biden's pardons were just so rife with stuff to dissect. I can't believe they spent like 32 seconds on it. Why did he do preemptive pardons? What's the legality of that? Call it out. Don't be so wedded to your side. I used to be a Democrat. Then I became a Republican. Then I started thinking for myself, and I started Purple State, Kid Copious. All right? I did this whole thing so that, the mask and all that, so that I could speak freely without getting blowback on other projects that I had going on. Most of those projects are dead, and the character just still exists because, it's okay to have your own identity in life and adhere to some conservative values. It's also all right to continue your own identity and subscribe to some Democrat philosophies. And now I've gone way off track, so I will transition to the next story. I like to begin this next segment by saying I do realize I live on Earth, and if Earth blows up, I die. I get that. I understand that the climate is changing. Why? Yeah, the wobbles of the Earth, different rotations, orbits, all that crazy stuff. The Venus's proximity, everything affects us. Things like Mars and the moon affect the deepest portions of the ocean. There are a lot of forces at work. I'm also a big believer in cleaning up the environment. I don't like litter. I don't like pollution. All right? But how we go about doing that is what I'm concerned with. Right now, the average automobile, its emissions are very low. Some people even say that we wouldn't even have emission laws if these are where the emissions had started. I think we should be promoting biofuels, gasoline, diesel, encouraging companies to make more efficient, cleaner versions of gas-powered items. I don't mind if people want to drive electric vehicles. But let me just say something. Yeah, and I've talked about this before. Teslas were made for rich people so they didn't have to go to the gas station. If you wanted one of these novelty cars, fine, whatever. If you like the acceleration, great. But mass-produced lithium-ion powered devices from cars, scooters, bikes, all of that is a freaking disaster. They are not safe. You crack one of those batteries and you've got a hellstorm on your hands. And I want to look at a couple of those right here. LA fire cleanup, complicated by unprecedented number of EVs with combustible lithium-ion batteries. This comes from Fox News. if you crack those blocks, you end up shooting flames 5 to 10 feet in the air. They're self-fueling. They take gallons upon, some people say millions of gallons. It's not that, but it is a lot of water. Something particularly here in California we don't have a lot of. You have water that is now mixing with these chemicals and getting into the sewer systems and getting into agriculture, and the burning battery itself is producing flames. We were never supposed to have this many battery-powered cars on the road. And it's because of the left's all-in gamble on climate change as a way of garnering votes. Sowing fear and then providing the solution to that fear. And this is squarely on them. Electric vehicles were supposed to be a novelty, all right? And right now, we are allowing foreign-made electrical, scooters and bikes into this country. They are not passing the safety regulations. These batteries are prone to catch on fire. And the worst part is most people put their bike or their scooter by their front door. You now have a super intense fire at your front door. I don't really see how some of these devices are even deemed safe. And when you think about the fact that people worry about, radiation, cancer, and things like that with cell phones, well, imagine when you increase the battery size. And a lot of these things are Wi-Fi connected, so the Wi-Fi, the cell signals, they're still present just like a cell phone. But you know what? We got this green agenda. We're just going to plow ahead. Damn, who cares what happens? Well, what happens, here's a lady burning battery in Tesla crash, complicated rescue, and she died. This happened in Torrance, California. I was just there not too long ago. She crashed. It was a single vehicle collision. She crashed into a phone pole, 10 o'clock at night. I don't know what the results, the toxicology reports will show, but usually people who just randomly weave into a pole at 10 o'clock at night probably have had something to drink, but I don't want to get into that. But they found the Tesla fully engulfed in flames after the motorist traveling southbound, for unknown reasons, veered it to the right and collided with a traffic signal. Officers made valiant efforts to gain access to the vehicle. However, due to the intensity of the flames, they were unable to rescue the occupant. Their efforts were complicated by challenges associated with the vehicle's lithium-ion batteries. They burn with like the heat of a sun. Firefighters run into burning buildings, okay? Mostly burning wood, plastic, things like that, the things you'd find in a home or a business, right? Lithium-ion is a completely different beast. Completely different beast. This is a thing that reaches thermal temperatures all by itself, ignites into flames, and then continues to burn. I mean, imagine a car battery, even in the size of a car battery. Say, whatever. It's the size of it, like, say, a table. I don't know. Okay? Versus a table, a wood table. If you light that wood table on fire and I hit it with a fire extinguisher, it's going out. You hit a car battery with a fire extinguisher and it laughs and keeps burning because it's producing its own fuel. That is a very scary thing that really needs to be looked at. What's the point of saving the planet if we burn it down? Not to mention the mining and the shit that goes into this. This is not the answer. Tesla and the other ones, Fisker and what's that stupid truck, Rivian, they were made as an oddity. It's just like, sure, motorcycles are a very efficient way of getting around, but if you put more motorcycles on the road, you're going to have more problems associated with motorcycles. They do get tapped quite a bit out on the LA freeways. Same things happen with the EVs. There's too many of them. You have too many opportunities for these things to ignite. And as the article went on to say, this is not the first time that lithium-ion batteries have posed problems for first responders. Back in September, an overturned big rig in San Pedro carrying a load of lithium batteries sparked a massive fire that disrupted port operations and created a traffic nightmare with the closure of a freeway for 2 days. 2 days. No gasoline engine vehicle has ever caused 2-day shutdown that I've ever heard of. One of the damaged batteries in the crash that also exploded, causing what LA Fire Department Captain Adam Van Gerpen called thermal runaway, where flames were shooting up 5 to 10 feet. We can't keep putting more of these on the road. This is not the solution. All right, right now, all the blame for one of the fires out here, the Eaton fire, is on power line transmissions. Here in California, it's not really practical to bury shit because you got earthquakes. You got people digging around. We can't redo our whole infrastructure. It'd be great if we had started off with underground or something along those lines. That'd be great, but we didn't. We started with overhead power lines. That's what we've got. And now we want more and more and more and more of it. All in the name of trying to save the planet from climate change. Well, the thing that's going on is as CO2 emissions go up, our climate has been changing. But they're not correlated. Okay? They're not correlated. Our energy usage, our pollution into the air, as far as I can see in my lifetime, has actually gotten better. I don't know what the numbers say. I don't know what the numbers mean. But what I do know is that there is a lot of money out there that is being awarded to people to say, man is fucking up the planet. Well, if that's the way we're going to approach it, we're not going to come to the right solution because lithium-ion batteries and all of these electric vehicles are causing their own set of problems, their own set of pollution. All right, Babylon Bee here. Preliminary report confirms tragedy was the fault of whichever political party you don't like. It's one of the reasons I subscribe to Babylon Bee is because they are willing to say both sides. They're willing to call out some of the stupidity on both sides. And what we're talking about here is what happened in D.C., where a Black Hawk helicopter, military helicopter, crashed into a jet and killed, I think, 60 people. Trump came out and blamed DEI for the plane crash. Oh, my God. I just, I get that he's got beef with the last administration, but the reality of this situation is that the air traffic controller told the helicopter pilot, you are at the wrong altitude and you're on the wrong vector. You're not supposed to be there. You need to move. The helicopter continued. They were flying a night op. He was wearing night vision goggles. Might not have been able to have the best peripheral vision, but for whatever reason, the helicopter pilot did not change course as instructed, and the two things collided. This was not Buttigieg's fault. This wasn't Biden's fault. This wasn't Trump's fault. This was a pilot's fault. But nowadays, we live in this world where we have just accepted that news agencies are going to clickbait because you got to make money. No, they're supposed to hit pause on blame, investigate the fucking story, and come back with an actual answer. This was the mistake of one man, a pilot. That's what we heard. We heard, we could see it. We could hear and see air traffic control saying, you're not in the right spot, and the guy not correcting. Ugh. And then Trump has to try to politicize it. I'm disappointed in him for that. I've always thought that Trump stood a good chance of becoming a purple party. He wasn't really wedded to either side. He's not a career politician. But unfortunately, what we're seeing, and it's early days in his presidency. So I do understand that he's really mad about some of the shit that was flung at him. I don't want to get too far off track, so let's move on. Phew, Trump announces immigrants working taco trucks can stay. This is from the Babylon Bee. And this brings up a point that I've made before. That, 10 years ago, a lot of our illegal immigration came from Mexico. But the people who came up here were able to integrate themselves into the Hispanic community through friends and family. And they were able to provide for themselves. This latest crop that we've seen over the last 4 years, I'm not saying them all, but some of them were just criminals looking for better criminal opportunities. We just had a Chilean gang busted for burglaries. We know about TDA, how they're operating in places like Colorado. Criminals, scam artists, people who want to just glom off of society, they, oh man, I just, I like to just come up here and just be myself and say what's on my mind. And there's a term out there called gooning. And I just realized that as an Arsenal fan, we go by the nickname the Gooners. Put two and two together. Look up gooning, and then you'll understand why my brain just kind of tweaked out there. But, if we have people coming in this country illegally, but they're not living off the public dole, okay, any more than anybody else, any citizen who needs legit help, and they go out and they work for family members who own a taco truck, I'm fine with just figuring out how to make them legal. But the problem is that, the number that Biden let in was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 14 million people. And a lot of those people did not come here with good intentions. And that's the part about being purple. I'm not wedded to one side. I don't have to agree with the Republicans and say, deport them all. And I don't have to agree with the Democrats and say, let them all stay, regardless of what they did. I don't believe in sanctuary cities. But I also don't believe in shipping people home when they've got a foothold in the United States and they're providing for themselves. When they're living with relatives, when they're working, like it says here, on a taco truck. Man, I applaud that. That's the American dream. You get your ass into this country, you start fucking contributing, and your reward is that you could become as big as you want. It's all based on your effort. That's what I'm seeing, okay? That's what I want to see. But if you got people who come here and they don't want to be American and they want to just get checks and free shit and take advantage of whatever they could take advantage of, get them the fuck out of here. We don't need any more of those people. We already have enough of those people. You want to come here and commit crimes? Again, we've got enough criminals here, all right? Pretty sure we're good on the criminal count. But if you come here and you put forth the effort, I don't understand why we should send them back. Okay, you enter the country illegally. Let's work on that. Let's work on that. Let's figure that one out. Because you've contributed. You check this box, you check this box, you check this box. Good, you can stay. You found a place to live? Great. Okay, the government's not paying for it. You found yourself a job, maybe under the table. Hey, are you paying taxes on it? Oh, you are? Cool. Are you a blight on society? No? Okay. Boom. You can stay. That's the way we need to operate. We can't just take the fucking blue side or the red side. This is far more complicated. Purple is willing to get complicated. Babylon Bee, number of genders hits 10-year low. I just like this because I look, I don't mind if you want to say that you're some sort of like beta wolf gender or whatever. Okay, that's cool. But at the same time, our society needs, some sort of structure and some sort of way of looking at it. And we can't just simply just say, well, you've got some freaky way of looking at it. Let's just incorporate that into our driver's license. I don't mind if people want to mark that they're non-binary. I don't, whatever. It's not the end of the world. But one of the things we saw over the last 4 years is this kind of oddball way of thinking started permeating our government and government policies and where tax dollars were going. And it's not very purple. There are two genders. There's male and female. There may be a third kind of mixture out there, but at such a low percentage that, come on. We just have to look at things that way. Maybe it doesn't make every single person happy. Maybe a few people get damaged along the way. But for the good of the common people, we need to use common sense. This one I just honestly thought was pretty funny. Democrat senators oppose diversity for one day only. You know, talking about Cash and Tulsi there. I'm a big Tulsi fan, but I worry because I heard a disturbing thing about this sort of religious sect that she's with that makes money off of pyramid schemes in some countries, and the devotees of this whatever cult or sect, let's call it a sect, consume the founder's toenail clippings in their food. It's a bit weird. I mean, it would kind of be like putting Jesus' hair in your sandwich. I don't know. I mean, it worries me. But I really wanted to talk about diversity really quickly. I was thinking about this before the show. Let's say that I set up some sort of foundation, okay? And now I got to staff it. And I'm going to staff it with people that I know, all right? You know, my head in charge would be a Hispanic lady that I know. She's one of the hardest working, most organized. Wow. You know, when you got ADD and you see somebody who's kind of the opposite of that, wow. Girl is organized. Woof. But she would be my leader. Fair, stern, all of that. Common sense for days. You know, I would hire another guy I know. He's Filipino, one of the hardest, most diligent workers I know. Another guy, he hails from Mexico. Hard worker, willing to just do what it takes to get things done. You know, and then I need to bring in somebody who just has like that sort of that creative modern mindset, you know, really understands modern technology. White guy. He's a white guy. Bring him in. And if I needed somebody to sales, oh man, I know who I call. I call my boy. He's a black guy. Real smooth talker, real good salesperson, real good closer, really knows how to connect with people. You know, and then we put on a benefit show, you know? And I thought, okay, I'm going to have 4 different bands kind of representing different kinds of music. You know, I'd start with C-Night, Linda Sao. I just saw her on Thursday night. Beautiful Vietnamese lady who does indie rock. She's an electric guitar and just makes just magic with it. And then I have a white girl from Wisconsin, Carly Hansen. She's one of my favorite artists. A lot of that kind of, 16-year-old girl blues type stuff, but also a real understanding, a real maturity about life. You know, then I'd want to kick the energy level way through the roof. I get 2 black brothers, and I mean brothers as in siblings, from New York City, Oxymorons. And I'd close it off with one of my favorite bands, 2 white guys from Ohio, 21 Pilots. Now, I mention all of their ethnicities because that's a pretty diverse crew. Very diverse crew, right? I mean, shit, if I put my grandson and granddaughter in there, you know, they'd be Filipino, Egyptian, Italian, Irish, Mexican. All right? But that's diversity, but that's not diversity based on the fact that I'd want one of each. It's based on the fact that these are the people who I would go to war with. These are the people whose music I want to listen to, that I want to shell out money to go see in concert. I've had the great honor of meeting some of those people, some of those musicians, and gotten to talk with them and hug them. But not because they're black or Vietnamese, but because they're good. I deem them to be the best. And that's the problem we've seen over the last 4 years, is diversity despite qualifications. I think it absolutely sucks that right now, and I saw a post about this, a Hispanic lady with a master's in business, and she's referred to as a DEI hire. One of the girls I work with, Hispanic woman, out there in the field, busting ass every single day, working up a sweat. Not a fucking diversity hire. Not on my team because she checks a couple boxes. She checks 1 box. Great worker. And that's what we need to get back to in this country. We should not be scared of diversity. But at the same time, we should not be promoting diversity over qualifications, because then it makes all of those people look bad. It makes all of those people look like diversity hires. And I think that's bullshit. I think that is absolutely bullshit. That we have legitimately in this country and in other places around the world, we have made it just like what we were always afraid of with affirmative action. Nobody gets credit for the content of their character, just the color of their skin, just their identity. Man, that makes me so sad. We're going to end it with Babylon Bee. On-screen message warns viewers that this Disney movie was made during a time where people weren't babies who got offended by everything. And if you look at the actual Disney thing right there for Peter Pan, Wendy and her brothers embark on a fantastic adventures with the hero of their bedtime stories, Peter Pan. This program is presented as originally created. It may contain outdated cultural depictions. Did we kind of get things wrong in the past? Yeah, we did to some degree. I mean, come on. We know Amos and Andy. We know some of the 70s black exploitation films that were out there. Even in Peter Pan, I get it, you know. But we need to see where we've been. One of the problems that affects our country right now is that a lot of young people don't remember what it was like in certain areas where smog choked us out to the point where we had to miss school. To where we've come. When Joe Biden runs around talking about Jim Crow laws, he's counting on the fact that most young people haven't seen that. I myself have seen the ugly face of racism and discrimination. I've seen it, okay? I remember people like Matthew Shepard who were brutally murdered simply for being gay. We don't tolerate that anymore in this country. We don't tolerate racism, misogyny, sexism, any of that crap. We don't accept it. But you need to see where we were. That is the important part. When you look at history, history is brutal. History is filled with double crosses and ugliness. But that's important for us to know about. Simply painting a picture of what it used to be like allows these politicians and some of these groups to, it's almost like clickbait. Look, mistakes were made. Mistakes were corrected. But you need to still be able to see the mistakes so that we don't repeat them. Peter Pan is a fine film. To be honest with you, I think it's a very funny joke that Babylon Bee makes here, but I don't really think it's too much of a stretch to say that there are outdated cultural depictions. You know, I think things need to be labeled that way. I think parents need to know if there's going to be violence or sex or bad language or drug use. So if something is a little bit outdated, you know, I kind of actually applaud them for just going ahead and putting the movie out. All right? Because maybe people are offended by some of those cultural depictions. I'd have to rewatch Peter Pan, but I don't remember anything that bad. But, you know, before I leave, I just want to say I fucking hate Disney. I'm sorry if you're one of those Disney adults, but I don't like Disney. I don't like the way that they pretend to be so socially conscious when in reality they're just about making money. They don't stand up for things. They don't stand up for their decisions. And, you know, back in the day, they used to put movies in the vault, so to speak. People couldn't buy new copies of them, and I witnessed a lot of people turning over hundreds of dollars for VHS copies of Disney movies because they had kids and they wanted to show their kids. And there were no streaming services back then. The only way you had any control over what you saw was to rent or buy a tape. And as most people with kids know, kids like to watch the same thing over again. So I would see people come in to the video store and shell out a couple $100 for a copy of Peter Pan on VHS because that's what they wanted to show their kid. And, you know, and Disney wasn't making it available for sale. And, yeah. But I don't even know how I got off on that. I think it's because on Pluto TV, not a sponsor, I see a Disney ad almost every single commercial break. Pluto TV is one of the greatest values out there. So much good shit. But anyhow, man, thanks for listening. Thanks for, bobbing and weaving along with me here. I'm Kid Copious. I'm Purple State Party, and so are you. Love one another. Keep love in your heart, and open your mind to thinking down the middle. And whenever you feel a little blue, or even a little red, remember, you can just dance it out.